disappointed in every one of you. I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Well. Welcome everybody to another boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. Oh, it's your good friend Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got a fantastic one from you. We had about 5 good fights last night, 5 good fights to talk about. And of course, as the title of the video states, we're going to be talking about Edgar Berlanga first. What's going on with him? What's going on with Edgar Berlanga? We're going to get to the bottom of that. We're going to be taking your phone calls near the end of the hour, because I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, fellas. What you thought about Edgar Berlanga's performance and all that other jazz. We're going to be getting down to it, fellas, so make sure to hit the like, subscribe. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the super chat feature, although it's always better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. But the most important thing is you can hit the like, subscribe, right, fellas? Don't forget you can check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker at your leisure. All right, who do we got here in the chat? Shout out to Timothy Figueroa. Shout out to Joe in the house. Shout out to JJ, J Colt Virtuoso, SSC, Jesus M, Antonio Hernandez, Captain Ivan Drago in the house as well. SSC in the house. Shout out to him. Who else do we got? Michael Poe, Two Matador, Harp Janda, Bandit, Shadow Combat, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, let me invite a couple of people over here, see what they got to say about Berlanga. Because again, it's a weird thing, this Berlanga character. He was hyped up by Top Rank, as they should. I mean, they're his promoter. But boxing fans, there's one thing they hate, is a guy that's overrated. By, even if that's the promotional entity's job, people don't like it. People don't like being told, this guy's the goods, and having him shoved in your face or in their faces. So it's interesting how the type of dislike now that Berlanga is getting, but is it deserved? How good is he really? And we're going to get down to the bottom of that right now. I see we got Gonzalo here. Gonzalo, you there?
Hey, what's up, Mr. BDA?
What's up, man? Thank you for being on, man. Yeah, let's get down to it, man. Edgar Berlanga scored a decision win over Quigley, a fighting Irishman. Dropped him 4 times, I believe. But there's still questions about Berlanga, who has yet... he's gone the distance 4 times after having a 100% KO record in his, first 15 bouts or something like that? Now all of a sudden, he can't stop, guys. What's going on, Gonzalo? What's your assessment of Edgar Berlanga?
Oh, yeah, that KO ratio is going down to in the 70s, mid-70s. I think 74% now. Yeah, it's one of those things. Look, the guy's he's got a mean right hand. You hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. He's got a mean right hand, and he's able to land it maybe out of all his arsenal, all his punches, that straight right, or kind of like a choppy more so than a straight. He lands that. He uses his legs to push you back. And once he's got you pushed back against the rope and he kind of pins you there, he'll let that right hand go, and a lot of the times he'll catch you. But basically, that's the only punch you really got. The other ones he's missing. And I know Quigley, he showed to have like a good pair of legs and was keeping it moving. But like with that left hook, Berlanga was not landing. And really, it was only once again that right hand, kind of like how Canelo pinned you back. And even though you know he's coming, you can't get away from it. And considering Berlanga's size, punching power, I mean, he's got a decent pair of legs for such a big dude. After the weigh-in, he rehydrates much larger than what he looks on the scales. But I don't think he's necessarily fast. He's far from explosive. So him hitting you hard is one thing, but if you can ride the power and you can take that power and you could be there to like answer back, and even worse, if you can hit him first, he's gonna get a little desperate and he's not gonna be able to follow it up because he basically throws one punch at a time. So it's one of those things, Berlanga, and also maybe that right hand's there when he's chasing you down, but at the same time, he's also been clipped in the past coming in, like he did against Martin Coceres, the guy that Billy Joe Saunders dropped. So yeah, he doesn't necessarily have the toughest chin in my opinion, and he's not necessarily the quickest, and he's only basically got the right hand. And when it comes to not having great speed, it's one of those things that you're rarely going to get to improve. If anything, you're going to get slower. The more you age, the higher you go up in weight. And basically people know that that's the only punch you bring to the table. They're going to be watching for it. Like I said, if you clip him first, he gets desperate. So I think he's basically like a glorified puncher with the heavy punch.
I mean, not even that.
Glorified club fighter with the heavy punch, I meant.
Yeah, but now it seems not even the punch. He doesn't even have that. But it's interesting, though, because, look, the guy got the job done last night. He scored 5 knockdowns, apparently. I thought it was only 4. It was kind of hard to keep tension while watching 2 fights simultaneously. That being said, everything Gonzalo is saying is true. When he gets hit first, he seems to sort of get offset from his rhythm. And that's the thing about it is, look, if power is supposed to be bailing you out, and it's not bailing you out that much right now, because, I mean, he didn't drop or hurt, what's his name, Angulo. Benavidez looked good against Angulo. He couldn't stop Steve Rolls. Golovkin stopped Steve Rolls. He couldn't stop Casades, or what's his name again, Cosades, or that Argentinian dude that Billy Joe Saunders did stop, like Gonzalo said. Meanwhile, Billy Joe Saunders did stop. So that's about 4 guys now. And then Andrade beat, he stopped Quigley. This guy couldn't. So I think at this point, it's safe to say that he was overrated. His power was overrated, but that doesn't mean he's a bad fighter. That being said, let me tell you why I've got a little sympathy for him. Very little sympathy. Because this guy, and let's not forget, fellas, I think people are already forgetting, Top Rank cut this guy loose. Just like they've cut other fighters in the past who are talented, but they just don't have the work ethic. And apparently that's what it is with Berlanga. They didn't like the way he was conducting himself in training. And it's true. You look at him on Instagram. He's very active on Instagram. He likes to pose with his girlfriend and with celebrities that he's met. And then there were the allegations that they were offering him certain fights. And he was like, nah, these fights I'm too good for these type of guys. You know, like they offered him the Jesse Hart fight. And Jesse Hart is a good litmus test for anybody. And this guy thought he was too good for him. He thinks, Gonzalo, he seems to think that he's ready for the Canelos and the Adameses of the world. What do you think?
Could be one of 2 things. Is he's really confident in his power because once he hits the bag or he's touching up the mids and his trainer's telling him, oh, okay, yeah, you do hit hard. Or it could be a situation where he just wants a big payday to cash out, understanding that he cannot beat the guys like Jesse Hart. And he's basically trying to fool himself into believing that those guys are not good enough, but he can actually compete against the Canelos of the world. And maybe in his mind, he thinks he can. But really, it's just like subconsciously a way of saying, okay, I'm just cashing out. Give me a big payday. And if I lose, oh, well.
You know what, Gonzalo, that's an excellent point. I think that's the way it seems like to me. Because this guy, like I said, you look at his Instagram, and he's always posing with, like a girl, showing photographs of what he's eating. He's showing off photos of his girlfriend. He's hanging out with his girlfriend in all these exotic places. He's hanging out with celebrities. And then in the posters, well, I don't have the pictures here, but I don't know if you guys saw the posters around the fight. He's doing the shh sign, like the shush sign. Either he's a Mason, which could be either he's a Freemason, which could be problematic, or he's acting like the fucking criticism gets to him. It's like, how dare, it's almost if he's saying, how dare you criticize me? Well, you're not delivering the payload that you're supposed to deliver with the performances. So what are we supposed to do as customers? Just, oh yeah, keep paying for your fights and stay quiet and keep feeding you? Like Gonzalo, the entitlement that some of these fighters have, it's unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem when you give everything to somebody when they don't deserve it. They become a little spoiled.
A little. This guy's out of his mind. A lot, yeah. He's whacked out of his mind. Now, let me ask you this though, because okay, he's gone the distance 4 times now. He still, look, one thing you can say positive about him is that he's winning these fights and they're not that competitive. But he's just looking listless in there. That's my problem. Now, Gonzalo, De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn have been going back and forth on Twitter. They seem to be having a bit of a tiff here. That being said, is this all just a ploy to ferment some sort of interest in a potential Berlanga, who's with Edgar Hearn, and Munguia fight, who's with Oscar De La Hoya? Is that what they're working towards? And would you be interested in that fight?
Sure, that's a good fight. That's a real good fight. I mean, they both bring something to the table. I think Munguia obviously more complete, the more experience. But he's also subject to committing a few mistakes there that he can't seem to get away from. Like, he's getting caught with punches on a consistent basis, and there's been no like real improvement in that category, right? To the point that Eric Morales has told him, hey, well, you got to consider Davidchenko, tough fighter, and he's a shorter guy. When he was coming forward, Eric Morales told him, stop throwing the 45s, the hooks. So we've seen in the past that Munguia, he's always getting hit with the hooks. Particularly, it comes to mind that fighter Takashi Inui, the Japanese guy. I was like, man, why can't he get away from those right hooks? And those are the type of mistakes that fighters, like when you see those type of things happen, they seldomly get away from that happening. Like, very difficult. It's very difficult for them to correct certain things. Same thing goes for Munguia. Same thing goes for this guy. What's his name? The guy that just fought.
Which one? Berlanga?
Yeah, Berlanga. Same thing goes for Berlanga.
But by the way, were you the guy that started calling him Verga Larga? Or who was it that started calling him that?
No, I think it was El Jefe. Verga Larga, he said one time. It was like, I thought it was funny.
Well, listen.
Or Bernalgas or something.
Somebody was calling him Faglanda in the Discord. But be that as it may, look, this guy, Munguia Berlanga, this could do a lot of money. It's interesting with Munguia, he looked bad against Derevyanchenko. And you compare it to, like with Berlanga, we were comparing him with some of the guys who done better against his common opponents. With Munguia, if you compare him to, say, Jermall Charlo looked better against Derevyanchenko. But then Charlo looked like crap against Montiel, whereas Munguia stopped Montiel. So it's almost like this division is turning into what 154 was, where one guy beats the other guy, and then the guy that won gets beat, and then the other guy that he beats the guy that he beat. So it's almost like they're canceling each other out here. So that's what appears to be going with the 160-pound division. Would the ultimate plan, Gonzalo, be Munguia Berlanga, and then the winner of that one takes on maybe the win Adames or something, if they can co-promote? Because it seems like Eddie Hearn and Al Heyman right now, they're on bad terms. What do you think happens there? Who's the best middleweight right now, though, is the question.
The super middleweight or middleweight? What division is Berlanga? 68?
Oh yeah, you're right. No, I'm confusing. Yeah, I don't know why I'm confusing. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, I was confusing the fact that these guys are fighting, because 168-pound division, let's face the facts, it's a new division. It's not one of the classic divisions. So it shouldn't be existing. There used to be a time when if you fought above 160, that was a light heavyweight. Now they got an interim. But anyway, yeah, you're right, man. What's up with that, though? Who is the best super middleweight right now if it's not Canelo? If he goes up to light heavyweight one of these days?
Well, obviously it's Canelo. And the fighters beneath that, it's going to be David Benavidez, David Morrell, and David Morrell still has a lot to prove, but they're really hyping that guy too. So that's one guy to consider. Although they're not going to face him against tough fighters. And I'm not saying that Berlanga's the toughest, but they are both. They're trying to make those two dudes into superstars. So it's going to be very difficult for those two guys to cross paths. They're going to take their own path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
and you got John Ryder. John Ryder's a good fighter that's already lost, so he doesn't have to live to other people's expectations that he needs to like protect that and stuff like that. He's just pretty much like a throwback. John Ryder, you got Gongora and McBilly. All those dudes are tough guys.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, man. So we'll see what happens with those guys there. You know, it's interesting that I'd rather see Benavidez take on John Ryder. Then again, that's another Canelo leftover. So maybe it is better that he take on a guy a little fresher in Morel. But again, Morel hasn't done anything. What does this do for Benavidez? I don't know, but it is what it is. Well, Gonzalo, we also had other fights. So did you catch the Nowaski? I don't know if I'm even pronouncing his name correct. Nowaski versus the Sicilian Nightmare.
Oh, yeah, that was an entertaining scrap. Yep.
I mean, this referee was giving Nowaski every chance to not get stopped. In the first round, it looked like he was going to get stopped. But credit to Nowaski. I mean, he took those shots, and his face was all busted up, but he just kept on coming, and it seemed like a little time for a while there that he was going to pull it off, the comeback, but it just wasn't meant to be, man. But it was an entertaining fight, man. Back and forth. Did it remind you a little bit of Gary Wade? Just a little bit, the way he was going back and forth.
It was entertaining. Yeah, that guy I feel bad for the guy because I mean, the one time that he fought, who did he fight? And he lost. They were promoting him like supposedly like the next best thing. Then he got knocked out. I think it was against Norwegian Nightmare. Then after that, he lost a rematch. Now it's been 3 or 4 in a row. And the guy always seems like one punch away from getting stopped. He seems like all wobbly, all over the place. And I'm not just talking about his fat rolls. I'm talking about like when he gets punched, his feet are like all over the place. And he just, that kind of makes it exciting because since he's always on the brink of getting knocked out, like, you know, he's got one foot out the door, then he's bringing it back and he's in the fight again. And it's like, whoa, he's like them bobblehead dogs, BDA, that the head's teetering. Like back and forth, you know, he gets punched, he's rocked, then he brings it back, he's in the fight. Yeah.
But you know what, man? I mean, I'm telling you, that's the type of stuff that I want to see. I want to see the fights continue. I don't want these refs stopping the fight early on. And that brings us to the Julian Williams. Now we're moving on to the Showtime card. Julian Williams versus Carlos Adames. The stoppage. What did you think of the stoppage? Essentially, for people that don't know, Carlos Adames ended up stopping Williams in, what was it, the 10th, 11th round? Let me check here. But yeah, well, some people are complaining about the stoppage. Gonzalo, what did you think of the stoppage?
Hey, it was a bad stoppage, PDA. It's a bad stoppage because Julian, the Rock Williams, was fighting a good fight. The best fight that he could fight, given that he's a veteran and maybe he doesn't have the toughest chin, so he has to pick his punches and choose when to fire back. Like, okay, say the other guy's coming out strong, but then he's getting tired. Then you got experience. You're gonna shoot back when you see an opening and kind of like see that dude like a little bit tired, where you can get him back. He was doing that. He was maximizing his abilities while exploiting the little cracks that he could find in Adames' armor, which weren't a lot. But basically, okay, if Adames is winning, but in spots you're fighting well, then let's say Adames ends up tiring like he did against Teixeira, then like Julio Cesar Chavez says in Spanish, las balas perdidas existen. In English, it would be like lost bullets do exist, or errant rounds, however you want to say it. Errant rounds, you know, all of a sudden you could get a round out of nowhere. It's not like a bullet. They hit you out of nowhere. It's one of those things. Another one, Bala Mendoza. Like Bala Mendoza knocked out, what's this guy? The tall dude. The Tower Inferno. He was losing the fight, but bam. Dude got tired, clipped him with a good shot, and knocked him out. So Julian Williams, you could still tell that the power was kind of there. Was kind of there because he was very he was choosing when to throw with power, and he was like staying strong in order to take the power that the other guy was throwing, and in order to respond, with some punchy power of his own.
Yeah, look,
But it's one of those things, man. Yeah, it was an early stoppage. That ruined the fight. Because if
Gonzalo,
the fight wasn't like so fast paced that you couldn't say it was like
Oh, go ahead.
on the fence.
Oh, sorry, you were cutting off. I I didn't hear what you said. You cut off there near the end. What'd you say?
No, that's it, BD. I'm just ranting. No, it's the last round. The last round could have been a great round, but they took that away from the fans. Because if it wasn't that type of fight where you were like on the edge of your seat, it was building up to something, and you never know.
Exactly, because look, if the referee has to take into account certain characteristics of the fighters, the context. He has to know that Adames is a guy that gets tired. He has to know that. Or he has to assume that about any fighter. It's like it's possible that the other guy punches himself out trying to stop another dude. And Williams, okay, he was wobbly. He was getting his head snapped back, but it wasn't like he was getting his head snapped back and his eyes were rolling back up to the back of his head. That's when those are the type of signs that you look for to stop a fight. This guy was wobbly. Okay, let him get dropped. Or let him get caught on the ropes and take at least, minimum 3 head-snapping shots in a row before you jump in. But that's the other thing. This ref actually wanted to stop the fight 10 seconds prior to when he actually stopped it. He was jumping on, like he was hesitating. He was going to jump in, and then he didn't jump in. Then he was going to jump in a second time, then he didn't. And at the third time, he finally jumped in and stopped it just as Williams was throwing a punch. So I will reiterate the point that most of us here support in the BD organization. We want to see guys get laid out. I want to see guys get laid out cold. I want to see them get iced. And some people say, BDA, that's cruel. Let me tell you what's cruel. Taking the fight away from Julian Williams, who really needed to deliver a performance here and a win. Because he got stopped by Banana Rosario back in 2020. Then he lost to an unhurled Mexican in 2021 or 2022. Then he got a win. I don't even know if that win was televised, his last win, which was against a tomato can. And now he gets stopped here. So he needs, 33 years old, the time is running out for him. He really needed to deliver here something. And the referee he did take it away from him. Now, some people are going to say, yeah, but BD, his legs were wobbling. I understand that. But look at Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward, that 9th round. Mickey Ward had him on the ropes. He was teeing off on him. Cappuccino separates them, and he lets them go. And what happened? Arturo Gatti summoned a second win third win. That was his third win. And he survived and went the distance. You got to give these guys the chance. Now, again, when people say, BD, isn't that a little cruel? Letting these guys get, teeing off on each other? Here's the thing. And we've said it before, we'll repeat it. Fighters usually die because of prolonged beatings. With the type of beatings where the guy doesn't get hurt, but he just keeps eating flush shots and flush shots and flush shots over the head or over the temple or whatever. Those are the shots that kill because the brain keeps getting rattled. Knockout stoppages, yeah, sure, they take something out of a fighter, career-wise, but they don't kill him. They don't kill him right away. When people get killed, like, okay, if you're going to point out to Benny the Kid Perret, when Emil Griffith killed him, right? He had him on the ropes, stuck in between the ropes. That was a fluke thing. That was a freak accident where the guy was in a bad position and he got teed off on in a way that you're not supposed to get teed off on. And that was partially the referee's fault as well. But, getting laid out because you're tired or whatever, that's not going to kill a fighter. Let these guys go out the way they want to go out. If you ask Julian Williams, hey, how would you want to die? How would you want your life to end? He'd probably tell you, I want to die in the ring, giving it my all. So, Gonzalo, what do you think? Am I going too far here? Or?
No, he needed that win. And if you notice, the last punch that was thrown, it was a Julian Williams punch. The referee ran in abruptly, and he's a shorter man, but really you can tell that Julian Williams did like he pivoted around the referee and ended up throwing, I believe it was a right hand. So he was actually like the last guy that threw a punch, but the referee didn't see it because he was shorter. He wasn't paying attention to that.
Yeah, he was jumping up and down.
So he kind of ran in there. Yeah.
He was jumping up and down like he wanted to get a good view of what was going on. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe he didn't see properly. He just panicked and said, maybe this guy is getting teed off and let me stop the fight. Otherwise, it's my ass. My short ass. I don't know. By the way, shout out to Pat's Nation for his contribution to the super chat. He says Quigley threw the fight in the 12th. I don't know about that though, Pat's Nation. I don't know about that, but it could be. You never know, man. We got the Jim Marino in the house. Jimmy, you there?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for jumping
What's
in.
up, Jimmy?
That's good, man.
We're talking about
it's Father's Day, right? Happy Father's Day, Gonzalo.
That was like last week, I think. Maybe, I don't know.
It? Oh, so my father passed away, man. I forgot. I thought it was this week. I'm sorry, guys. But
Your father passed away?
Yeah. Sorry to bring up that on, that was silly. But,
no.
Thank you, my brother.
Merry Christmas, by the way, while we're at it.
Let's get them all out of the way.
Yeah. Jimmy, we're talking about the Julian Williams Adames fight. We're talking about the stoppage. What did you think of it?
You know what, dude? I haven't even seen that fight. I saw the Quigley, but I've been real busy, even late until last night. So that's why it's up in the docket. I was going to watch it to see. I'm actually going to watch it as I'm on the show now. I got to watch it. I'm just turning it on. But I watched the Quigley Berlanga fight. Just, man. I mean, listen, that kid Quigley was there for one purpose, to get starched early. I mean, that's why he was. I mean, listen, he's why he was there. Demetrius Andre put that kid out in 2 rounds. Remember? Mm-hmm. So it's like, that obviously that's what he was there for. That's why, I mean, you're ready, Hearn. You're like, okay, who do we got to win? This weight class. Who's got a good name, but I know who's recently gone out or can get put out early. Because you just signed this kid. That was his coming out party, if I'm not mistaken, on DAZN, correct? Like, yes. You want him to make a statement, bro. You invested money. You lured him over there. Although I'm sure there wasn't, it wasn't like a big great, it wasn't a Canelo Part 2, a free agent pickup. It was, but they still spent money. They wooed him. And so there was an investment there. And man, that kid Quigley's a domestic level UK fighter. It's just Berlanga is so flat-footed and just throws punches from the wrong angle. The wrong punch selection too. He throws it's almost frustrating. I can't watch the fight. I can't enjoy it because he's doing so many things. You're like, Jesus, dude. These are things that get solved if you usually have the talent early in careers. But what happens in today's day and age of fighters, these guys start getting their names thrown around for titles at 12 and 13, 14 fights just because he's knocked out, had straight, consecutive knockouts. But when they're against really, really fucking cherry-picked opponents, it's just the hype train doesn't stop. And then this kid started reading his own press and the chosen across his back. And it's like, how did Eddie Hearn not see this? Like, did you really not think? You know what I'm saying, bro? And then his corner, for the love of God, man, he comes back to the corner at the end of the 3rd round. He screams at him, "Dude, what are you doing, man? You want to be great? Okay, meet up. Calm down." It's like, dude, what? Like, talking about you just try to fire him up. Like, you get his heart racing. All right, now calm down. It was, I don't know, man. That kid's got problems. He gets sparked the fuck out by a Benavidez, by a Canelo, just beat like a rented mule. He's just flat-footed. He's got power, but it comes at a cost, at ability. He just literally comes at you almost like a street fight. Hands up, a little movement, little bobbing and weaving, and then he just loads up.
I'm not even sold on David Morrell. And I would pick him over Berlanga. And it's interesting because Gonzalo was saying...
Oh, yes.
Gonzalo was reiterating some of the things you were saying, too. I mean, he was saying some of the things you just said, too. Like, the other thing Gonzalo pointed out, one of the things he pointed out was when Berlanga gets hit, it takes him out of the fight, almost. It's almost like, whoa, this guy's hitting me? It's like he can. It's almost as if his mind can't compute it. I think maybe because he was so accustomed to knocking everybody out in the first couple of rounds.
Exactly what it was, brother. He has no pro round experience. He was banging all these fucking cans out in the first 3 rounds. He wasn't getting hit. The thing, though, and he clearly questioning his chin. That was a very astute pickup by Gonzalo. He he's questions his chin. When he gets hit, you can see him. He's apprehensive.
But Jimmy, that's the thing though. He's gone the distance now 4 times in a row. It's like
5. He was his 5th.
5th. Okay, there you go. That's even worse. Hasn't he gotten that out of his system now? It's like, okay, if I'm gonna go the distance, I gotta be more active. Or I gotta get used to guys punching back.
No, because in his head, it's just been some other reason why it hasn't happened. Because I can fucking punch like a mule. That's in his brain. That's who he still is. Because his fighting style, when you walk in, went left foot forward, left foot step, dragging your right foot in a wide stance like that, completely flat-footed. That's a power punching stance. He's just looking to load up with shots. He's never up on the tops of his toes. He's never thinking of angles. He just follows dudes around, trying to fucking knock their heads off. I mean, this kid last night, a few times... If Blank was world class, that means that Quigley's world class, because a few times he frustrated him. You could clearly tell. So when a guy like Quigley is, you think Quigley would frustrate Canelo? Holy shit! It would be like people would be booing. All right, this is not fair. Canelo, or anybody at the top of 168. I mean, Demetrius Andre, dude, who doesn't sit down on his punches, took that guy out in 2 rounds. So he's clearly there to be taken out. But when you telegraph your punches, and I guarantee that kid hits hard, but when you telegraph it to that extent and people can see them coming, you can brace for them. Gonzalo says it all the time. It's the punch you don't see coming what hurts you. The problem is he hits hard, but you see them coming. Very seldom does he sneak one in on you. So it's just, he has so many flaws. Fuck. And then I'm thinking, as I'm watching, I'm not a cheap individual, but I'll give you the shirt off my back, but I don't like you taking it. The fact you jacked up this fucking, $200 a year, and Canelo, that was all over their press release. It was Canelo. Now you ain't got Canelo no more. And your other fucking Forbes list guy, Joshua, is a shell of himself, at least mentally, I think. Really, DAZN, you need to... He says he's got money now to make some moves because it's freed up, clearly, because they were guaranteeing those paydays to Canelo. So they were tying up big money with him. So now he can stop maybe trying to make some fucking moves, throw some money around, do something, because he's got to. He's got to.
Yeah,
bad.
man. Hey, listen, Juan Francisco Estrada, what happened with him? They should get him back pronto. Start doing what HBO did back in the 90s when, they had everybody back in the 90s, but they also had a lot of money to spread around, and that's when they created Boxing After Dark, and they started putting on these fights from the lower weight division. So that's what the DAZN should do right now, rebrand and really cater to the hardcore boxing fan. But I don't even know if they're going to do that. I don't know if how much the executives understand about boxing. That being said, back to the Berlanga thing, it's interesting you mentioned that thing about the tattoo in the back. I didn't know that it said the chosen one. I thought it said Chon or something.
Yeah, chosen. And I'll make one real quick point. I'll let Gonzalo jump back in there. When I say here's the problem. When you start putting all that attention on a fighter, when 12 and 13 round fighter, right? His corner loses control by meaning his pressure. Once you start, you're that guy, you're on the internet, and they're talking about, your power and, you're doing headline fights on Top Rank. It's very hard to get a young dude reel him back in. You know what I mean? When you're an off show with this fights, anytime you see boxing events, there's a bunch of fights that happen before the telecast even starts. These are fights, this kid shouldn't have seen his first TV time until his 25th, 30th fight because he's so flawed. Listen, I'm not saying this kid, if he was taught right over, had a normal career, 25, 30 fights off camera before you step him up, but because he had so much, his head was so big after 14 fights and they were throwing money at him and he was this beast. And of course, everybody's hungry for a Puerto Rican champion. You know what I mean? So for all those reasons, they lost control of him. I think that nobody can tell him anything because I never see corrections. What do you say, Gonzalo, NBDA?
Well, I think is the way he is just the way. I mean, he's powerful, but it's not like he makes over glaring mistakes aside from the ones you say that I also notice, and probably a lot of people do, that he telegraphs his punches. But just the fact, I think being like such a like a heavy-handed dude, I think 'cause he's heavy-handed. Like if he were to put his elbow on a desk and just drop it, let his hand go, you could probably hear the smack on the desk. It's so heavy that I think a guy like that, personally, like if they ask me, what do you want for my son, or like for like the ideal boxer in my mind, I wouldn't have a guy with such heavy hands. I think because in the end of the day, I think you lose speed, and if you lose speed, you're gonna lose punching power too. Exactly. Once you start getting tired and you start throwing them heavy hands, but you got no real speed behind it, and you're having to cock back on the elbow, on the cock back on the shoulder to throw that punch. Hey, people are gonna see that punch coming, and I don't think it's one of those things that can be easily correct. It's just that's the way he's born. It's just that's the way he's born, man. I would have that category, like how heavy your hands are. I would have like a fighter that would be like an 8 out of 10, because then I would work on other stuff like speed. And just make a good fist and throw with power, throw stiff punches. Cut the air with your punches. Big, heavy hands, like fucking Thor. I mean, dude, You can only swing the mallet so many times before you're fucking tired.
So that mallet gets heavy, right? Yeah. And feints. I mean, how hard does it teach a fighter feints? Christ. Shame.
The only reason he's landing that right hand, and it's kind of like it's kind of like a what do you call it? Overhand right? Is when he's pushing you back against the rope, so he's using his body like a football player.
Yep.
Canelo does it too. I mean, it's a good thing, but that's the only thing he got. Like he pushes you back, and since he's bigger, think of Quigley. He's going back against the ropes. He's kind of trapped, and the only thing that Quigley can think is cover his head. Resort to knowing that he's coming. And the only thing that you can really do is block. I mean, he could have done other things, but Quigley didn't do those. He could have got out of the way, like circled around, right? Yep. Lateral steps. But basically, he saw him coming. He was pinned against the ropes, and here comes Berlanga loading up on that right hand.
Exactly. Right? Just duck out low, make yourself small. But every time he did that, he was doing it a lot in the beginning of the fight, but he was looking down at the tops of his shoes. You don't do that against a chopping power puncher. Like, if you're going to duck, which is smart, make yourself small. Yeah, you put your chin. Yes, brother. Yeah, exactly. Right? That's because he comes down, right? And that's that chopping style. But good reference, because Canelo does do that too. It's actually, that's one of his good punches. But Quigley should have been backing out small. Like in one of the best exercises, anybody who's listening, if you want to get good at that, man, string a rope from one point to another and duck, about probably up to your nipples, but then get down your fights down, bend under the rope, go, back and forth, walk forward, come back, duck in your head, but keeping your head up. Don't put your head down. Keep your chin parallel with the floor so you're looking still. He kept ducking out with his head down. And that's when he got caught with that one chopping shot, I believe, that put him down. But yeah, that's his punch. It's a chopping style. And it kind of has to be because his feet are so wide. He's not going to get much on a punch across his body, fully extended with his feet that wide and flat. So it's got to be kind of close in a chopping style.
That's one of the punches, Jimmy, that I would say even if you see it coming, it's too powerful because he's got all the momentum coming forward like a freaking football player, like a train, picking up steam. Canelo does it too. It's a good thing, but that's the only thing he got. He pushes you back against the ropes, then he throws all the shoulder into the chopping shot. So even if you're cowering down and you're bracing your body, a lot of times he's maybe clipping you on the top of the head, because that's what I saw with Quigley. Is Quigley's like lowering down because he's like, oh my god, here comes a punch. That's a heavy punch. That's how you can tell a guy that that's how you can tell that guy hits hard. But listen, not everybody's gonna knowing that he's got that right hand. Not everybody's gonna sit around and wait to be hit by that punch. Moving forward, a better fighter that faces Berlanga is going to be basically, he's going to tell himself, let me take away that right hand and let's see what else happens.
He's done. Yep. Punch between his punches. Because he always throws the right, he always sets up the same way too. He drags his almost identical position when he starts throwing his power punches. You know what I mean? You see it coming, snap your jab into his face, duck out to the left. Go out to his left, your right. Away from his right. And if you're going to duck out low, keep your head up. See his shit coming. And never get yourself near the ropes. You can spin him fucking... he's going to be tired because every time you throw that punch and you miss, you take a lot out of your gas tank and then work on that dude's belly because he's soft, too. He's a soft fighter. He's not fucking lean, man. I'd be fucking targeting his midsection. Doesn't look like he does a lot of fucking ab work.
Shadow Combat in the chat says...
And even when he's barreling forward, that's how Martin Coceres caught him coming in. And there was an instance in this fight when he threw a hook at the same time Quigley did. And they almost said double knockdown, like the fight before that. But Quigley, I think, landed first, or if they landed at the same time, because they both got buckled a little bit, actually. Berlanga got buckled more. It's like, man, dude, he got me first. So obviously he's the slowest he's going to be the slower out of most fighters because he's got such heavy hands. But at the same time, how he reacts to a punch, man, it's not a good sign. He gets taken out of a fight. He was all wobbly.
Yep. It's interesting that Shadow Combat in the chat says Berlanga should go to the Garcia gym and take notes from Mikey Garcia. That's a fighter who was elite due to his fundamentals, not extraordinary athleticism. That makes sense, Shadow Combat. The problem is, as we were saying earlier, Berlanga doesn't seem to be the type of person who listens too much. First of all, there's an arrogance there to him, which I can appreciate. You're supposed to have, you're supposed to be confident and bordering on arrogance if you want to be a top fighter. That being said, he goes beyond that. He seems to think he's already got it figured out. And I'm extrapolating that based on the comments he made when he parted ways with Top Rank, where they offered him a set of fights that were congruent to his fighting skills. And he said, no, I'm better than those guys. I want the top fights. And as you clearly see in the past 5 fights, his power has been overrated. His delivery mechanism is flawed. He can't get that power across, even if it is there. And so he's got to work on a lot of things, and I don't know if he wants to. I think that one of the reasons why Top Rank cut him loose, apart from the fact that he thinks he's already got it all figured out, is his training habits don't appear to be all that great either. So we'll see what happens, man. Jimmy, one thing that Gonzalo and I were talking about before you jumped in was Eddie Hearn and De La Hoya are getting into a bit of a tiff on Twitter. Is this all show to make a Berlanga-Munguia fight?
Now, the lawyer, which, Lou DiBella?
No. De La Hoya and Hearn.
De La Hoya. Oh, okay, yeah, because I thought you said the lawyer, not De La Hoya. Okay. Sorry. Because he was getting into it with Lou DiBella ran his mouth too. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, Canelo didn't leave Eddie Hearn because he had a problem with Canelo. They're still good friends. I mean, they had a good relationship. You could tell he was always hugging the fucking dude. Think about it. Canelo's not a huggy type guy. How many pictures are out there every time? You know what I mean? I see them all the time hugging each other, and they were known to go out and fucking vacation together and party. So, yeah, there was nobody there for them. And everybody was claiming he was ducking was with the PBC. It's not, but yeah, these people. DiBella was acting like these fucking PBC fans, Heyman fans saying like, oh, this was a coup. First off, they don't even, how unaware? $750 million, 8 years, and over 200 guys under contract, and every time you fucking need to put up some numbers, you sign Pacquiao, you know what I mean, off Top Rank, and now you sign like a free agent Canelo, and instantly everybody gets washed right off the board. The Morel fight, everything was just... Now our concentration is going to be with Canelo. Like, yeah, everybody. But he's not a PBC fighter. He wasn't brought up from prospect to that. I mean, it's just more proof that Heyman can't do it. And the younger guys now are seeing it. That's the reason why all the top guys are going with Top Rank.
I want to keep you centered on the De La Hoya Hearn thing. Is it this Munguia Berlanga thing? Is that something that they're I know I'm asking you to speculate, but is it too?
Oh, my speculation, absolutely not. They're not trying to make that fight. Oscar De La Hoya hates Eddie Hearn with a burning passion. I follow him on Twitter. He hates Eddie Hearn. This was happening even before Canelo, but now that he lost Canelo, he's like reveling in it. He blames Eddie Hearn for Canelo leaving him. He really does.
But what I'm saying is it possible that when it makes, they always say it makes money, it makes sense. Would they be willing to work together and do the Munguia Berlanga fight, knowing that both guys it's a winnable fight for both guys and that they need to look spectacular? and they need a boost to by defeating a fellow unbeaten fighter.
Yes, I think because of both with the zone, it could happen that way. I meant, is it that I thought you were like questioning, was it the motivation of their argument was trying to make those guys? No, I think those guys could easily fight. They're both with the zone, but motivation-wise, I just think it's pure hatred. Canelo has, Oscar has for Eddie Hearn. But would they fight? Would they make that fight? I don't see why. I'd be confident if I was Munguia. If I was Oscar, oh sure, let's do it in a second.
Yeah, why not? You know, you got Munguia, Gonzalo, but how?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, video.
I'm with Gonzalo on that.
Yeah, but Gonzalo, how I was just gonna say, like, real quick, how would you, by which way would you pick Munguia? How do you think he wins that one?
I'll say, if you ask me who got the better chin, it's Munguia. He got the better chin.
Absolutely.
The better legs, I would slightly have to give it to Munguia. Munguia got good legs. He can displace himself very well around the ring. We saw with Saram Ali, and people are going to say, well, that was against Saram Ali, but legs are legs. Legs are legs, even if you're fighting little or a big guy. Legs are legs. Ultimately, you ain't punching with the legs. You're just moving with them. He got good legs. Good body puncher. So I think he breaks them down and knocks them out. Now, I wouldn't go, if I were Munguia, go trading toe-to-toe necessarily with Berlanga either. But I'm just saying, I think he gets them.
Yep. Agreed, 100%. Munguia by knockout, probably the 7th or 8th round. I think would catch him and put him out. Because Munguia's tough as nails, flawed, but tough as nails. And he's bigger. He's frame-wise. Munguia's got a much better body conducive to boxing. He can catch a little, too. He does catch with that hand sometimes. So, yeah, no, Munguia by stoppage. I agree 100% with Gonzalo.
Well, they should make that fight happen, man. They should make that fight happen. And it's always good when two undefeated guys fight each other. And it thins the herd, too. Thins the herd, say, okay, let's get rid of one of these dudes. See who's the real.
If you were Eddie Hearn, would you make that fight right now?
You know what? I would, because like Gonzalo said, there is a chance that Berlanga could catch Munguia. Munguia is not good when it comes to trading. So I will make it. I would still pick Munguia to win that fight if I'm an objective observer. But if I'm Eddie Hearn, what else are you going to do with Berlanga? You're going to keep feeding him stiffs? Even the Puerto Rican fan base isn't going to keep watching him fighting a bunch of stiffs. Like their options are very limited. They got to go for that Munguia fight. At least if it pays off, if they pull off the upset in that one. And it's not, it won't be that big
Jimmy, you know, if Munguia, let's say Munguia did improve like defensively, it's very hard to tell against a fighter like Debriachenko, who's right on your grill, with the shorter limbs, threading the needle on the inside, and the faster fighter. He's not going to make you look, he's not going to really showcase the defensive improvements that you made in the gym against a slow guy like Berlanga that does have power but throws one punch at a time. Maybe that punch that you were dipping and dodging in the boxing gym, you're going to be able to show it against this guy. Because this guy only throw one punch at a time, and it's heavy where you can see that punch coming. So basically, you're going to be able to see it against a guy like that, you know.
And Mr. BDA, just look at your icon. I mean, not your icon, but the meme or whatever you have for the fight. I mean, for this program, in the bold letters, Edgar Berlanga verdict. In the capitalized letters, overrated. You don't think like Eddie Hearn sees that? You got 26,000 followers. Probably skims through YouTube, see what people are saying. You know what I mean? And it's not like you're being an outlier. Most people, I'm sure, walked away from that non-impressed. So right now, Eddie Hearn, part of the smart question, going, God damn it, because you wanted that to be good. You wanted him to spark him out, get that crowd going. And can I answer real quick too the reason why the guy in the chat who said, was it a chat or was it a donation? I forget. But he said, like Mickey Garcia, like be trained by Garcia because Mickey Garcia was excellent fundamentally. I mean, excellent. So here's the problem. I don't know if it's still that way. It might be a little less. But back in the day, you would have never seen a Puerto Rican go cross country and train under a Mexican. It just was very unheard of. In the same way, going the other way. Mexican fighters didn't go train under Puerto Ricans because it's not that we would have said anything or given a shit, right? But amongst the trainers in your world, the boxing community is a small one. The Puerto Rican trainers would have been pissed. It's the same way if Mickey Garcia would have went and trained under a Puerto Rican, the Mexican trainers would have, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's it can be a little nationalistic, right? Boxing is how it is. But so for that reason, you know what I mean? Culturally, they like to kind of stay. You very seldom see that happening. And a lot of it because of old, and it's not even fucking any kind of like race thing. It's just that it's kind of an ethnic pride thing, I guess. And that for that reason, I wouldn't have seen him doing that.
Yeah. No.
If I were Munguia's coach, Eric Morales, I would teach him what Patches O'Houlihan used to teach the dudes in the movie Dodgeball. The 5D: dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, and you win.
That's excellent.
I tell you what, though. I did see Berlanga slipping some shots in there, but the problem is you can tell he was working on defense or in training camp. But the problem is he can't put 2 and 2 together. I think Chief is the one that said that too. That some fighters have good defense, they have good offense, they have good this, they have good that, but they can't do it at the same time. Then that's the mark of a good fighter, the guy who's got the computational power, the brain power, in other words, to do that. And some fighters can't, and that's Berlanga. He's thinking in there. He's thinking. You can see him thinking, and that's a problem because it's supposed to be smooth.
Yeah, not reacting. He's thinking. And again, but he's doing that, dodging those punches from from Quigley, who's as prodding and predictable as they come too. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, he's not anything special. And again, the 5th time he's gone the distance. There's something's going on here. But the fact is, Berlanga, again, we were talking about the arrogance. He's got the posters where he's telling people to shush. Either, like I said, either he's a Freemason or he's got a lot of arrogance. Like, hey, I'm going to shut you all up. Well, I'm a customer. I want you to I'm rooting for you to put on good performances. I want to be entertained. What we saw last night wasn't all that entertaining.
He tweeted out back when he had, I think, 10 knockouts in a row. He had 10 or 11. He had since taken it down, like a year later. I wonder if someone has a copy of it. But he tweeted out, it was something along the lines of, I am the greatest 168 fucking pounder and the heaviest puncher in the division has ever had. Like, as clear as day, he tweeted that out. And people just, they ratioed the shit out of him. I swear to God, it was shocking on what he said, yeah.
That's insane.
He was making those proclamations when he had like 10 fights. Beating up dudes who were parking your car when they're fucking, before they call him in to fucking get ready for the fight.
All right. Listen, we got to go to the phone calls here because I opened up the phone lines 10 minutes ago and people are on the line waiting here. Let's go to the phone lines here real quick. Don't forget to call in and hit the like. Let's go to 661. 661, you're on the air. 661, what's on your mind?
I saw the Berlanga fight last night, and I loved it. It was highly entertaining. Berlanga did a great job. I don't know I do know. He's just a little too hip-hop for the races to enjoy. He's a little too flamboyant. If he was a little more whitewashed and not white, it was a China hater, I'm sure the races would enjoy him, but his wife is fine.
We really have to listen to this fucking moron.
Hold on, let me talk. You could talk after. You could go on your little rant like the China hater you are. Let me just get my point across and you can go. What Edgar Berlanga saw him while he would sign him.
Stupidity.
He sold out the whole stadium yesterday. He had the people out. He had the stars. He's a star. His wife is fine as fuck. And it doesn't matter what the little dweebs on the internet say. In the real world, he sold out the place. The internet world is where these people big up Andrew Tate. Look up Andrew Tate on a reality show. That's the real Andrew Tate, the little dweeb, little geek, incel. So Andrew Tate you see now is what the China haters created to feel better about themselves. But he did great.
We all can't be as famous as you have stars writing songs about us.
Oh, look, China hater. Let me get my point across. You can talk. You have
you're massive. You must have like millions in your bank account, huh? With all these people using your songs for songs.
You hear. Listen to the tone after the Regis Prograis fight. To the people listening after the Regis Prograis fight. These are the same people who cry about illegals taking taxes, but mention NBA, NFL because they're cucks. It is what it is. Fuck them. But let me get back to the fight. The little pussy-ass Caucasian was running the whole fight. Berlanga hunted him down, and look at how he came out in the 12th round, monster mode. Hunted his ass down and stopped him, right? They should have stopped the fight, but they just want to make these other pussies look better. Looky, Berlanga's fine-ass fight.
Only knuckleheads what you would look at. See, when I look at Berlanga, I don't look at him as a different race. I look at him as Spanish or Hispanic.
Canelo,
weirdo.
He looked better than the bum Canelo's last fight, who went the distance with his bum, right? He didn't go on instinct mode and give the fans what they wanted. Berlanga did in the 12th round. I'm going to hunt this fucking little pussy down. And yeah, Andre stopped him quicker, but these white boys are cucks, BDA. You know how cucked out they are. Black dude gets in front of him. Oh, let me go. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different thing dealing with these little cuck-ass, pussy-ass fools. Now, look up Drake on the Grassy.
He's a tough guy.
Can I say something? Shadowban, Shadowban, can I say something? I appreciate the fact that you're looking for positive things to look for Berlanga, whereas everybody else is criticizing him. That being said, the big thing with Berlanga was his power. That was the big thing, and this is the 5th time in a row he's gone the distance against guys that have been stopped before by other fighters. Yeah,
BDA.
It's because they're afraid of black people, though.
Look at these racist China haters that are now just like what they did to Teofimo.
China haters. Do you realize when people hear you, dude? I know in your head, you think you sound cool, dude. But people are listening thinking this kid should fucking seriously fucking have his medicated adjusted, dude. Seriously, you don't have a job. I guarantee you don't have a career.
China hater.
Nobody's hiring you, dude. Now, you get checks. Do you get government checks, or does your mother give you an allowance?
And overdoses, but you blame others because that's how in denial you people are. Let me say this. Look how they're bigging up Morel now to downplay Benavidez. Oh, but Berlanga's a hype job. Morel's not. You China haters are the nasty demonic spirits you are.
But wait a minute. Shadowban, I gotta interject here. I think you're going. He hung up. Yeah, I was gonna tell Shadowban. You're coming at this all wrong because I gotta defend Jimmy here. You know, you're putting words in his mind. He's never said anything about Morel being the greatest or anything like that. He's never bigged up Morel. So I would like to see peace brokered between you guys. And you know what? I gotta be fair here too. And I'm always being fair. It's Jimmy didn't start any of this. This is Shadowban. He goes into the cracker and this and that. It's like, you know, if Jimmy was really a racist, that he likes to say, I don't think he'd be on a panel with 3 Mexicans and a Puerto Rican. And then of course. What's his name? Chief, who's
thank you, Mr. BDA. And what did I say earlier? Boxing, I've said it so many times, isn't the same without a great Puerto Rican champion. I said it earlier. It's a shame that this kid wasn't what was promised, because the sport's just better. Because there's almost nothing better than a Mexican-Puerto Rican rivalry in boxing. Some of the greatest fights have been in that. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm for the boxing. It's just insane that this kid comes on with that China hate. It's shit that don't even make sense.
Well, listen, we give everybody the chance here to speak their mind.
No, I understand.
Though, you know what I do agree with him though is that the fact that Berlanga did try to close the show in the 12th. I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. I mean, I don't know how much credit I'm supposed to give him for that when that's what you want to do. But I have seen fighters before who just sit on their lead and don't try to go for it. So at least Berlanga understood the gravity of the situation, that he needed to at least drop the guy a couple of times in the last round. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm looking forward to
you know why he didn't do it in the 6th round, Mr. B-Day, or in the 5th round, didn't try to close the show in that way? I'm not saying, I'm not marking him. I'm just saying the reason why he didn't exactly do that, because he knew it was the last round. Spend whatever fucking fuel you have left. Jettison it because it's the last round. He was afraid to do that in any of the earlier rounds because he was still afraid that kid Quigley could stop him. Because why wouldn't he have?
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like let's say he's all right. Let's say he's all right for the sake of just let me explain why real quick. I think he ultimately will end up getting stopped, and he's really not that good overall because he doesn't have a chin. He doesn't have that good of a chin, and he's slow. So that means when he throws a punch and he's last to get there, he's gonna get caught first. And when he gets caught first, he's going to get wobbly, and he's not really going to know how to react. He could have a heavy punch, but since you don't have a chin, and he's kind of slow, he's not really going to be that good. Put it how you put it. That's just the way I see it.
I think it's a fantastic matchup between him and Munguia. because it's going to thin the herd. And I think, like, I agree with you two guys. Munguia is going to stop him, and it's going to, if they make the fight, by the way, maybe the zone pressures Hearn and Deloy and says, look, listen, you guys, we gotta make something happen here with the zone. They give him the money and they make it happen. It makes sense. But that being said, what's his name? Berlanga needed to close the show. He closed the show, but when it comes to impressing people and showing that he's sending himself apart from the pack, he hasn't done that yet, man. I mean, 5 times he's gone the distance now, where the big thing was his power, and he hasn't delivered that. Let me go to another phone call here. Let's go to 347. 347, you're on the air. 347, what's on your mind?
LA.
What's up, guys? NPR.
Oh, NPR guy, what's up, man? Doing fantastic. What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, man. Listen, I apologize. I did not end up seeing the fight last night, but I do know his style, and I watched some highlights on it. One thing I think that we kind of in the modern age, we get too caught up in the fact that somebody has a winning and loss record. I mean, back in the day, guys used to go through a series of fighters. I'm sure Jim will understand that. First you were in the amateurs, then you beat the club fighters, then you beat the regional fighters, then you beat the if you were a prospect, that is, then you went through the kind of national fighters before you made it to the international stage or were given a title shot. So we've gotten spoiled over the past 30 years into these giant glamorous boxing things. So as far as Berlanga goes, I didn't take it a few fights ago that he was necessarily a hype job. The last 3 fights were legitimate fights. In other words, these guys, was a Steve Rose, the Angulo, and now this Quigley guy. These are legitimate fighters. I'm not saying they're the greatest of the greatest in the world, but they are legitimate fighters. And he's going to go through, if you want him to be good. Personally, I never hope that people end up in a bad way. I hope that, if he's got some talent, that he ends up in a good way. I don't go against somebody, even if I don't like their personality or like their personality. I try to see it for what the game is. As far as his a possibility with Munguia, I don't believe he stands much of a chance with Munguia, probably because of the experience level. And I know that Munguia has a padded record, but he also has a hell of a lot more experience than Berlanga does. I mean, he literally has half as much as experience as Berlanga, even though once again Munguia has not faced the greatest of challenges in his life. Anyway, gentlemen, it's once again my pleasure speaking with you, and I wish all of you guys good times and positive things in the future.
Absolutely, man. We're hoping for the best, and they'll catch the fight, man, because it was an interesting fight to try to gauge Berlanga and see where he's going. All right, catch you in the next one. NPR, take it easy, man.
What NPR is saying is paying his dues. That's basically what he just broke down. A fighter used to have to pay his dues.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's
they don't do it anymore.
Exactly. Even the top guy, like Josh Taylor, Shakur Stevenson. There was another guy. They've got under 25. I think they just got into 20 fights. You wonder how much better would they be if they were fighting. Jimmy. And Gonzalo. You know what I just looked up? Steve Kim always talks about the activity. He's the one that really drilled this into our heads about how too many fighters are inactive nowadays. And he talked about De La Hoya's 1995 year, where I think he fought 4 times, 4 or 5 times. And then he talked about James Toney, 91. I think he fought 6, 7 times. I just looked up Mike Tyson, the year he beat Berbick for the title, his first title, right? 86. You want to know how many times he fought? 14.
5, was it?
14 times he fought. That's half. He turned pro in 85. And he had about 14 fights in 85, then 14 more on 86, and he wins the title in that very same year. Now, I know Mike Tyson was the bar, I
thought you said after he won the title, a year after he won. Oh, yeah. No. That was crazy. He banged all those fights out in like a couple of years. He was fighting every other month.
Exactly. These guys fight twice a year and they got another 20 fights. It's absolutely
And
insanity.
I heard people call in and say like, "Oh, well, he shouldn't fight that much, especially now because what Canelo at mid-30s, like because like, oh look, he shouldn't fight 4 times." Canelo knew that's still the best thing to do. I mean,
right.
It's ideal because you never get out of shape, you never lose your punch calluses. It's just fighting often is better. I mean, fighting once or twice a year is just you're eroding your skills. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Just look at the caliber of fucking champions we have now compared to in the fucking 80s and 90s.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I'm thinking Canelo's going to stay sharp with the 3-fight deal. And especially if those other 2 guys like Morel and Berlanga want to stay in the race and they tell each other, well, we're not going to face each other because we don't want to get canceled out. We want to be the second fight. We want to be the second guy to face Canelo. But at the same time, you got to think they want Canelo to take the tough fights. What are you giving me? You have to give me Charlo, Benavidez, and then the next guy. But they're thinking, I'm going to cherry pick up until May 2024 so I can secure the Canelo payday. So therefore, I'm not going to take a tough fight, but I want you to take a tough fight. That's how these basically dudes roll. But at the end of the day, like you say, Jimmy, ultimately, it'll benefit Canelo because, like you say, iron sharpen iron.
Exactly.
Iron sharpen iron.
No, you said it right. Perfect, dude. They're going to fight somebody. Listen, the reason why the Canelo fight, Morel Benavidez is a done deal, right? The minute they announced Canelo signed, all of a sudden that fucking Morel fight was just evaporated. You know why? Neither one of them, because one of them would have had to take a L. Now it's play it safe until we get the fucking golden ticket. They're going to fucking fight nobodies, probably once each. Morel will probably fight twice if he keeps winning, but they're not going to. You think they're going to risk, Benavidez taking an L? No way. So this is like he'll still fight infrequently, especially going to have so much, whatever capital they have. I don't think they're doing anything guaranteed. I haven't heard nothing. I'm still trying to check, but I haven't heard like full purses. I guarantee they signed him. They probably threw a good fat ass check, 10, 15, 20 million to him just to fucking ink for 3 deals. Like, give me a bonus, whether it comes out the top of any of his fights, I don't know. But I guarantee there was money fucking changed hands. He didn't sign that piece of paper and walk away with just a lint in his pockets. So, but yeah, they're not going to fight anybody good, and it's not to their benefit, nor are they going to fight often.
They want to try to age Canelo out too. That's a tactic right there. By the way, I see we get the likes to at least 50. Get the likes to at least 50. Otherwise, I'm terminating this stream. We're terminating this stream. We're going home. By the way, let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 419. 419. You're on the air. 419. What's on your mind?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? Jimmy, Gonzalo.
What's up, brother?
BDA, Raphael 32 in the house.
What's up, Raphael?
What's up, Raphael?
I just want to say, Jimmy, it's a shame you didn't see that Showtime card last night because we would be talking about this now. I'm gonna go through the 3 fights real quick. The first fight, all 3 of them actually were stopped. I believe the ref stole the fights from the fans, except for the first one versus Martinez and Berneno, if I'm saying his name right, the Filipino. That fight was good, back and forth. The Filipino's eardrum got busted, so I can see, and and blood was coming out profusely. So I can see the ref stopping that fight. The Lubin versus Arias fight, that was back and forth. Lubin had a slight edge over Arias, but he was not hurt. And they did the replay of the count, and Jim Gray agreed with Arias. He got up at 9. He got up at the 9 count. He took a knee. The fight, the punch was a legal punch. That was a legal punch, even though Arias said Lubin hit him behind the head. That was a legal punch. But that was another back and forth fight that the ref took from the fans. Now, Julian Williams and J-Rock. J-Rock and Adames. You could see Adames was just much stronger than Williams, but he was still hanging in there. He was throwing combinations, and like BDA was saying earlier, you could see the ref jumping in, trying to hesitate and trying to see, and J-Rock let off a punch, and like 3 or 4 seconds later, the ref stops the fight, and it's just a shame. And I hope they don't do this in the Terrence Crawford Earl Spence fight. You know what I mean? This is where it comes to where like Al Heyman is the boss, because I don't think what's the name of it? PBC. I don't think they wanted Arias to win. They wanted Lubin to win, and I don't think they wanted J-Rock to win. They wanted Adamas to win because he's younger and he's stronger, and he looked good. But as Gonzalo was saying earlier, let the fight go on. Let them fight, man. It's BS. Now with Berlanga, I didn't see that fight. I just heard from around in the different chat rooms that the fight was trash. I didn't really need to see that fight because I saw Berlanga previously, and I know what he was about. I wasn't looking to see him against Scott Quigg. And one more thing, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Last Thursday, I had a good live chat with Bernie the Boxer on his channel. The title is called Crawford Punks Derek James.
Whoa.
Check that out at the 24 minute 57 mark, and it's really, really good. It's great content. I think you guys will love it, and he really goes in on Derek James. So check that out, and keep up the good work. And I just got to give shouts out to Gonzalo, because his boxing analyst has been off the hook for the past, after the I want to say the what fight, Benavidez and Plant fight. You know what I mean? Because he's a little bit of a Canelo fanboy, and that's okay. We all are fanboys to some point. But his analytics have been off the hook. So I give you big props, Gonzalo. And that's all I really got to say.
He's Bernie Pachenko.
Thank you.
He's what?
Yeah. I said he's out Bernie Pachenko. Gonzalo knows it.
I got it on my wall right now. It's like that's 10 by 10.
Listen, we'll check.
Raphael, he's right. Oh, sorry, Diego.
Yeah, we'll check that out, man. Bernie the Boxer, see what he has to say. What you were on there from the beginning there, Raphael, or?
Yeah. It's the 24 minute. It's the 24 minute 57 second. That's when I'm on. The 24 minute. Bernie the Boxer. Crawford Punks Derek James.
Crawford Punks Derek James. All right, we'll check it out, man.
Thank you
for your call, Raphael. Yeah, thank you for your call, Raphael, and we'll catch you on the next one, man. Take it easy out there.
All right, man. Y'all be cool. I'll holler at y'all.
You too, man.
See you later. BDA, did you notice, though, this PBC cards, any weird decision, any kind of fucking, get your question in, it always falls for the guys the PBC you would know wants to win.
Well, that's what Thunderdome always
There's no such thing as that much of a coincidence.
Yeah, that's what Thunderdome always used to say. Is how come the decision, the bad decision, whether it's a bad judge decision or a bad referee decision, always goes to the A side. It's very weird. I want to talk about that, but first we got to get to another phone call. Then I'll go to the latrines and let you guys cook for a little bit. Hold on a second, real quick. Let's go to 336 here. 336, you're on the air. 336. What's on your mind?
Yo, Mel Bottles. All right, and I'm back. I'm a little sick. So I think Ioka should definitely be on the pound-for-pound list. So I just want to state that real quick. So he's only got 3 losses. Well, technically on record he has 2, but he should have 3. He avenged 2 of them. Donnie Nietzsche was, a 4-weight world champ. And even though he was older, he was still winning at the top. He had still, I think he was on a 4, 5, 6 win streak before he ended up losing to Kazuto Ioka. He avenged his robbery decision draw against Joshua Franco. So he's a 6-time 4-weight world champ. And, so that's got to be he's easily above Crawford and Spence, because the way I look at pound for pound, at least for now, the way I look at pound for pound, I look at what you've done throughout your entire career. If you've taken tough fights where you can lose, and if you avenge them, I put a lot on that. I also look at what you've done, let's say, over the last 3-4 years kind of thing. So Ioka's firmly on there. And now I have a question. Yeah, what you say that again?
You're absolutely right. I think Ioka deserves a spot in the top 10 at this point, and I think they should take, the Ring Magazine's list, they have Gervonta Davis in there. He's got all these clauses, and special clauses. Yeah, exactly. Take Davis out of there, put Ioka in there. It seems fair to me. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. You were going to say?
And then the question I have for you guys is, because, we talk about what Steve Kim said about being inactive. These guys have only fought, 3 times in the last 3 years between both, each. So I'd say, 6 fights in 3 years. Mm-hmm. It's that. But their skills erode, or, one guy doesn't starch the other or wins competitively, and they both look like shit, and one person gets, the close decision. Do they deserve a top 5 spot on the pound for pound list because they made us wait so long, and they may not be what they were 3 or 4 years ago, which is what I believe. If one of them just has, a little bit of a better night, but they both look like shit, where does that put them on the pound for pound list compared to the T.O.s, the Canelos, even Kazuto Iokas, Beterbiev, all that shit? In a way,
that's a great question, man. Yeah, well, like when a guy gets, even if it's a top guy fighting another top guy, and the decision goes one way, but it shouldn't have. Like people say on paper, it says this guy won, but when you're comparing him, see, I will say this, man. When you're judging the top 10 pound for pound list, you're comparing 10 guys out of hundreds of boxers who are competent boxers, skilled boxers, talented boxers, who are all trying to get in on that cream of the crop list. The standards are very high, or at least in my eyes. My standards are very high in the top 10 pound for pound list. Yeah. You got to keep winning, first of all. That's number one. But it's also how you win. So a guy like Josh Taylor, he kept winning. Yep. But like Jimmy pointed out before the Lopez fight, he wasn't dominating the guys. You know what I mean? And that's why I say the same thing about Crawford. He's knocking them out, but how's he looking before he knocks them out? He's losing rounds. He's getting hit. Caller, are you all right, by the way?
Oh, no, I'm just sick. Keep going. You're good.
All right. So that's my standard. So that would be my standard. I would downgrade people compared to how they're performing, compared to the other top 10 guys. If they're dominating their foes and the other guys are winning, but they're not really doing that well, that takes points. What do you guys think, Gonzalo and Jimmy?
No, I agree with everything you just said, Gonzalo.
Oh. Yeah, it's true. Like the top 5, you have to do something really like outstanding, because those guys are like there, and unless they do something to like get knocked off, the guy that's gonna replace them really gotta outshine those dudes.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
So I got a question for you guys real quick.
Is that right?
Mirage went on there and said, all these things about how Benavidez is being ducked by Canelo and all this. So my question for him was, 2 things, and this he never answered, so if he's on, I'd like him to answer. But this is so the rest of the stream can hear, because he had difficulties a couple of days ago. And it goes as follows. Beterbiev was obviously the title holder. This is before he fought Joe Smith in Unified, so he was a two belt champ. And Benavidez had just missed weight, and he could have had a shot against Beterbiev. Instead, he says, no, I respect the sport of boxing. I want to climb up the ranks like everyone else, which, if I have a feeling if Canelo would have beat Bivol, he would have ran to 175. Why did he not fight Beterbiev? Why did he, continue to fight guys like Ronald Ellis, Alexis Angulo, and shot to pieces David Lemieux, where these were showcase fights for him, where he was supposed to win every single fight? And that's my question. He's actually a bigger dude, too. He could have made that fight happen and chose not to. Instead of Beterbiev having a Marcus Brown on his record or his resume, he could have had Benavidez win or lose on his resume. So what do you guys think about that? Because I don't buy the whole shit that if Benavidez I'd start Caleb in 6 rounds. Go ahead.
I'd say that decision to fight those guys, Bivol and whatnot, were taken out of his hands the second he signed with the PBC. He wasn't going to send him up there to fight him. Gonzalo?
No, I'm listening right now. Yeah, I don't have nothing to comment.
Yeah, I'll say this, man. the Berlanga, I mean, the Benavidez thing, somebody posted it, and I don't have it here, but somebody on Twitter had said, it's out of the fucking playbook. It's out of the fucking playbook there. You call a guy out and say, oh, listen, we sent him a contract. Then you already know you already got one fight signed. That's the other thing. So you know that fight ain't gonna happen. So but the fans out there, the same ones that bought the thing that Lomachenko was avoiding Haney back in 2019.
Right, he's becoming an habitual liar. Like
exactly. You set up a narrative. Yeah, exactly. You set up a narrative. You say, well, we called him out and he didn't accept. Yeah, 5 days. You pull the deal out in 5 days. So that's what I'm saying. It's come on, man. It's a little ridiculous, right? That's what I'm saying. So. I don't believe that caller, and I do think they're trying to age Canelo out. That's my thing.
I do too, a little bit as well. I actually agree with that. Because he looks like amazing against Charlo and knocks him out in 5 or 6 rounds. Because people got to remember, Charlo's going to be on a layoff. His resume isn't great. That's his fault. But it's not, at the highest level, not like at the elite level, but the highest level, he is a proven fighter. We don't know if he's elite. He probably isn't, right? Because he's probably going to lose to Canelo. Thing is, he's going to get the most money he's ever made his entire career. He got that toilet object, roasty, out of his life. Oh. And he's going to come to fight and come to win because he knows he can get fights like, bigger fights with Morel or Benavidez, So I think he's going to be very motivated in this fight, and it's probably be the best version of Charlo we've seen. I still don't think it'll be enough, but this isn't like, even though this isn't the fight we want to see, this isn't, Canelo's fault that Benavidez team's wolfing out the fucking mouth and, making narratives. And, it's not a terrible fight. It really isn't. So I kind of want to see Charlo lose, not because I have anything against him. I just like seeing the LDBC cry. Don't make excuses about how he had a 2-year layoff. But when Loma had a 15-month layoff against Teofimo Lopez, made it competitive and didn't get the rematch, they said he whooped him, and all that shit. Or the problem is, when Kovalev, beat the shit out of Ward,
the problem is
the decision.
The problem is you're making too much sense. That's something that these guys, they can't really compute.
Right, so, I know.
Don't try.
Yeah.
You're going about it the wrong way. But anyway, listen, caller, man, you made some excellent points. We got to move on here. But thank you for your call. Call back next time. Right? And by the way, feel better, man. Fucking getting.
Good.
Hey, are you
quit that coal mine, dude?
When are we going to do that second Renaissance?
We're going to do it within the next 3 days for sure. Are you near the fires? Because I'm here in Quebec and we've got smog today because of the fires. Everything's covered. Is that where you're at? Are you near the fires right now?
I'm in Indiana.
Oh, geez.
So I don't know where you're at in Canada. Yeah,
okay, man.
It's dry as shit, though. It's been dry. It rained a little bit, but it was like we've had a drought like the last 2 or 3 weeks, really. All right, the deuces, Mel Models. I'll let you go.
All right, take it easy, man. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, he sounds like a Sunday afternoon coal miner sitting on the front porch.
I would have thought he was from I would have thought he was from Kentucky or something, straight from the mines of Kentucky. All right, well,
jeez,
I wanted to.
That was deep.
Yeah, I got to go to the latrines real quick. I see we got Recognize jumping in here. Recognize the.
Recognize.
He's going to be coughing too. His voice is going to be hoarse because he was probably rooting. He was probably rooting so hard for Berlanga yesterday. All right, but by the way, I want to say this. The what's his name?
Sorry.
That's all right. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the fucking what's his name? Okay, stop it, man. I was gonna say the stoppage. Williams versus what's his name? Adames. That was a bad stoppage. What, Jimmy? I think you wanted to touch on something about that. About this. Oh no, excuse me. You haven't seen it. Try to catch at least the ending because I want to talk about that and recognizing Gonzalo.
Yeah, I saw Lubin. The Lubin.
Yeah, but Adames versus Williams. That stoppage.
Yeah, no, Breadman. I know. I'm watching it now.
Okay. Because Breadman really.
I finished Lubin.
Breadman. Stephen Breadman Edwards really went. He's the trainer of Julian Williams. He really went at the referees, saying this is a bullshit stoppage. Are we gonna see like the Rafael said? Are we gonna see that between Crawford and Spence? Meaning they're gonna give Spence the benefit of the doubt in that type of hijink.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. Crawford's a pretty big. He's pretty established in the boxing world too. I don't. It'll be hard if they do that. It would be a little shocking, but obviously, it would be in favor of the PBC guy. You know, you never know, man. These could be little tryouts. You know, like the referees for the big fight.
Yeah, and you know when Rafael said, or I don't know how do you say his name in English, Rafaeli, or he said that Crawford punked Derek James. Derek James was rolling into a building with two double doors, and he was dressed like a lawyer, like with this suit. And basically, Crawford said, "Hey, what's up?" And you could tell that Derek James have that whole PBC mentality, like they're the big dogs, like they're the A side. And I think that's why Crawford kind of got pissed, and he said, "I said what's up." You know, they feel a little too high right now, above everybody else. The Derek James team. I can see Crawford seeing that already. That's why he's calling them out.
Didn't he win Fighter of the Year last year?
Oh yeah, he did.
You know,
So
any of you guys know? Any of you guys? I mean, it's like the fight's like a month away, right, from happening.
That's a month away. Yeah, I believe so. On the 29th.
I'm curious to know the odds right now. Like, what are the betting odds? What are like the consensus betting odds for that fight?
I think Vegas had Spence last I checked. The one and only time I checked, maybe it was just in the beginning, but I think they had Spence up. Vegas was picking Spence, which kind of surprises me. But they've been wrong a lot lately.
Well,
2 months and 1 week. Yeah,
I'm not surprised, Jimmy. I would want to know what are the odds, because we've seen a PBC fighter in a PBC event where he was the favorite and lost, but he wasn't the favorite by much, and that was Deontay Wilder, I believe, in the rematch against Tyson Fury. But it wasn't. I don't even think it was 2-1. I think it was less than that.
I think Crawford's the betting favorite. Actually, recognized. I think, yeah,
I would think so too. If it's not that far apart, then that means Vegas is not too sure. You get what I'm saying? And let's say if it's something like 1.75 favor. Let's say Spence is a 1.75 favorite, meaning he's under 2-1. Then that's pretty close. And if it's even if it's even closer than that, then that fight Vegas is what Vegas is telling you is that fight is 50-50. Basically, anybody could win.
See, they make so much. They can be a little more loosey goosey with the original pick, because unlike back in the day, they have round by round betting. You can bet right up to the 12th round. You don't even place the bet. What happens in the 12th round? So they get a little more like it's. Yeah, they figure out to clean up, man.
Yeah, listen, with Crawford Spence, it's interesting because Canelo signing with the PBC, he's doing them a favor, throwing them a bone. And he also wants to shut people up when they keep saying that, he's avoiding PBC guys.
That's official, right, PDA? That's official.
That's been the big news in the past. That's been the big news in the past week. But what I wanted to touch on that is that Canelo calls the shots when it comes to the contracts and everything. So it's going to be hard to screw him. Crawford, on the other hand, he's been very adamant about some of the things in the contracts and shit like that with the PBC. That's why it took a year to make this fight, because he's standing his ground saying, you ain't going to try to fuck me over. Now, he's not Canelo, though, when it comes to pay-per-view attraction, star attraction. So, I mean, Top Rank treated him as if he was an attraction, even though at best I think he did I don't think he ever broke 100,000 pay-per-view buys, unless I'm mistaken. But anyway, the point is, if they're going to try to screw somebody, they're going to try to screw him between him and Spence. They would love to have Spence walk away with that undefeated record and a win over Terence Crawford. So if I'm Crawford, watch out for anything they got. Spence also has to watch out for Crawford's gloves and shit like that. That's another story. But I mean, Crawford really has to, because this is what a coincidence. Romero, ugly stoppage, PBC guy, because they need him to stay active and winning so they can pit him against Tank Davis again. Tank Davis ain't going to go after near any of the top lightweights. Then you've got this one, Adames versus Julian Williams. And Adames, I don't know, maybe they're saving him for Jermell Charlo when Jermell finally moves up to 160. Somebody told me this theory. I forget who it was, but that maybe Jermell's not going to fight Tim Tszyu. Something else is going to happen, an injury or something. And then last minute, they're going to go, you know what, fuck that.
I saw Tim Tszyu's last couple of fights. He looks like he'll fuck Charlo up, man.
Oh. Well,
I'm
Charles
telling
still,
you, man. He looks different. He looks real different, man.
I mean, say,
I agree.
What's my fucking name? What's my fucking name? That's what he keeps saying. He wants people to remember, right?
Don't be. Listen, I guess Garcia really wants that fucking Romero fight at 140 for the belt. So remember when he said after the fight, we could do the Davis, but we could do Gonzalo, because he sees that money. He might be a little fucking, helmet headed, but at least he knows what he's going to get paid.
I'm confused. Which Garcia wants the Romero fight?
Garcia, Ryan really wants to fight Romero.
Huh.
Rolly.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, that would make money. Yeah, that would make a lot. That would make money.
He'd win a legitimate belt. That's why I don't see it. I don't think the PBC would take the risk of getting rid of that belt.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's good money, and it's a winnable fight.
Of course, brother. Now, I want to make this point. Think about it. You hear a lot of people arguing who was the draw, who brought the fucking beef on that fight, right? Because Tank had 5 previous pay-per-views. Only one, according to Steven Espinosa, did over 200,000. That was against Romero. But now think about it. You're Romero. Who's the one? You go like, and they said, who'd you like to face next? Casually says, hey, Davis, you don't like to do this. But me and Ryan Garcia, we get it together. Like, that was when he got a big-ass smile on his face. Like, he knows that's fucking, he brings that huge fucking, although I don't think it'd be as huge after fucking, people like Julio saying what he said about him. But yes, that's the one he knows brings the bacon.
Also, something I wanted to touch on here. Absolutely, everything you're saying is true. They know, but at the same time, they, like you said, I don't think they give Romero to Garcia because they want to save him for Tank Davis. I mean, Tank Davis on pay-per-view.
Of course,
I think it was Ring IQ who retweeted a list of Tank Davis's pay-per-views prior to Garcia.
By the way, I like my bacon extra crispy. Thank you.
Is that right?
Me too.
Extra crispy. You know what? I'm going with the turkey bacon. And some people say it's not real bacon, but fuck it, man. It is what it is. But go ahead, Gonzalo. What are you gonna say?
No, the only reason Romero is such, I think the word's a commodity right here, is because of the belt that he has. It's not because of his good looks or his fucking charisma. In other words, he doesn't have any of those. He fucking sucks.
Are you sure about
stupid.
that? Are you sure?
He's ugly. That? He looks like Kermit the Frog. Basically. So what I'm saying, he has nothing to bring to the table aside from that belt that got handed down to him. That's why that robbery was key, so important. It was actually worth millions of dollars. And that guy that they stole it from, because basically the other dude was winning, and there was only like 1 or 2 rounds left. I mean, look at the way that the guy looked. 40 years plus, he looked like a dead man walking. He wasn't bringing anything to the table for the PBC telenovela or soap opera.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, Romero always looks like, he always has that face like you asked him an algebra question. Like that turned up sideways kind of look like you're testing him. Oh, man.
Listen, I don't want to keep making fun of special needs guy because then we could get YouTube. They consider that bullying. But I will say this, man.
That's true.
I will say this. They got to make something. They got to, all these PBC fights, they're pay-per-view. So they gotta try to maximize the amount of buys they can get, and so they need, like, Tank Davis ain't gonna sell 300,000 pay-per-view buys against Isaac Cruz or against anybody else. He needs Rolly Romero for that, so that's probably what we're gonna see next. But then again, the guy's in jail, so I mean, we'll see what happens there. But
it'll be more pressure on him now too because he had the illusion of a bigger fight. You know what I mean? 1 million pay-per-views, big fights. So now his fan base are like, okay, what's the next big fight? And all of a sudden, even if he's fighting Isaac Cruz, there's no buzz around it. That type of shit. It'll affect him.
Now, I wanted to return to the Julian Williams thing because, again, it was a bad stoppage in the sense that it's become the norm now to stop. A guy gets wobbly and then, they stop the fight. I want to see guys get laid out. That's the reality. Give these guys the chance to fight. And they get laid out cold. Guess what? They're not going to die from a knockout. They die from prolonged beatings. So if it's a prolonged beating, stop that one. But if it's a guy getting iced, let him get iced. And I'm paying for that, so that's what I want to see, and that's the way they want to go out, so we all win. Stop being pussies. Second of all, Julian Williams is a bit of an enigma to me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this because, well, actually, we got a phone call. Let me go to the phone call first, and then I'll ask you this, because I'm very curious about this Julian Williams situation. Let's go to 470. 470, you're on the air. 470, what's on your mind?
What's talk, BDA. It's Never Sober from the Discord.
No, what? Never sober. You sound like you're in Mars. Are you on speakerphone?
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, don't get on the speakerphone, please.
Can you hear me better now?
I hear you fantastic. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like you were going to ask for ransom. Like you were being kept somewhere.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, Never Sobers. You're on
So I sound okay right now or not?
You sound fantastic.
Oh, yeah, you sound good.
You sound good.
All right, so. What's up, Jimmy and Gonzalo? VDA. So, y'all checked out how Berlanga was looking yesterday against Quigley. He put on a masterclass of boxing. He looked like the undefeated champion that he is. And, I mean, in the future, he will be. And I'm just playing, right? He looked kind of bad, bro. He said he wants to fight Munguia after that. And I think that'd be a good fight for Munguia. I think Munguia is not, maybe not the best fighter in the world. But I think he'll run straight through Berlanga. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think Munguia will bust Berlanga's ass, man. I think he'll beat the shit out of him. It might be good in the first 6 rounds.
Oh, what's up? You're here too, bro.
Well, I think after that he gets his ass destroyed if he's still like in the fight. Because he's easy to figure out. He's pretty easy to figure out. He's actually a better boxer than he is a puncher.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't do. I heard you guys talking about this earlier. I think one of you guys said that, when he's on defense, he can't really generate offense, and he's doing it against guys that are like not really known for being good punchers. And the one thing about Munguia, you can say what you want about him, he knows how to put punches together. He's gonna see that. He's gonna see patterns. He's gonna recognize patterns from him. If he doesn't do it early, he'll do it later on in the fight, and it'll get bad for him. I say he stops him.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I think too, man. Anybody else?
I think so too. Munguia got a good uppercut as well. Goes well to the body. Like Recognize said, he puts together his combos more than Berlanga's one shot every here and there. And the one that's really devastating is their right hand. But I just think Munguia, he does the thing, man. He beats him.
First, what else you want to say?
All right, so this is another thing I want to say right now. I'll hop off after I say it so I can hear you guys answer me clearly, right? Because I don't hear it so good through this connection. Canelo going to PBC is making me really nervous because he signed for 3 fights. He's given Al Haymon 3 chances to beat him. Yesterday night I don't know who watched the PBC card, that Showtime card. Adames and what's the other guy's name, bro? And there was 2 early stop. I think Lubin. They got 2 early stoppages, 2 bad stoppages on that card, and it's a pattern, bro. They're doing it with impunity. They don't care what nobody says and nobody thinks. They're doing it. How do you guys think that will impact Canelo's tenure with them? And I would hop off, y'all. Thank you.
All right, take it easy, Never Sobers. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna impact him that much. The Charlo fight. First of all, people keep saying, and I think you guys touched on this on Friday's show. I didn't hear it, all of it, but I think you must have said it, that the reason why they're doing the Charlo fight first is because they need money. The PBC needs money. They're putting these pay-per-view fights, which means they're paying these guys top money. They're not making that much money on return in the pay-per-view buys. So they really needed to, before they can make Canelo Benavidez, they need to put Charlo in there and make some money. The coffers are running dry, so that's what they're going to do. And I don't think they would try to, I don't think they need to. I mean, it would be a robbery if Canelo beats Charlo and then they give it to Charlo. I have a hard time seeing that, but you never know, though.
Well, BDA, I also mentioned this, was on What Rep It's, and I said this. Like, if you got 3 fights, who would you face first, the easier guy or the harder guy? I would say you leave the harder guy to like the second or the last fight. It's just like a video game or like a freaking movie. Who do you end up fighting at the very last? Like the villain, the toughest guy out of them all. Because if you like, let's say for example, you face the toughest guy first. Who's there? Who's next to beat after that? Who's next to kill or to take out? Basically, you took out the toughest guy, and the people basically like lose interest. If you beat this guy, then you move on to part 2. most exciting, like the second part to the movie. You're gonna engage the people more because they're gonna buy to see you beat the better guy.
There you go.
Right? You don't want to kill the interest for it like too early.
Gonzalo understands suspense, showmanship. That's the way you do it. And also, I think partly they want to age Canelo out. I think that also has to do a little something to do with it.
Yeah, and you don't start baseball you don't start at the World Series and go backwards. People would stop watching, you know what I mean? In any sport. No, of course, you always want to save the best, what you would consider the best fight for last in a situation like that. So I agree 100% with that.
And let me just be adamant about something, Jimmy. I would like to see the Benavidez fight now. That's what I want to see that one now. I don't want to see Charlo fucking coming off mental health issues. But it is what it is. That's the way they're running things over there. And people...
Plan is you want to get back there, you know what I mean? And hopefully you can get to a place where at least you're a driving distance away. So just, you'd be happier in life.
Well, I think I'm back. I went to immigration in Manila, and I'm supposed to be getting a notification pretty soon. So instead of okay, cool.
Sorry. Yeah, we're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, the phone has got screwed over too. So here's what I'm gonna do, man. Sorry, 816. If you can hear me, I'm gonna end the phone lines here because then I have to restart them. It's a pain in the ass. So I'm gonna post a StreamYard link in case anybody wants to jump on there and give us their opinion via the StreamYard. All right, sorry about that. In the meantime, I wanted to touch. This is what I wanted to ask you, fellas, about what's his name, Julian Williams, because he lost against Adames last night. I think 10th round stoppage or 11th round stoppage. He was doing well after he got hurt early in the fight. And I was thinking, man, if this guy can turn back the clock against Adames, he could either beat him or at least give him a lot of problems because Julian Williams is no slouch. And then he goes in there, he gets stopped. Again, it was if you would have told me, hey, look, he lost against Rosario and then he loses against Adames, no big deal. It's two big punchers. He's chinny as it is, so what's the problem? But the fact that in between those losses, he had another loss against an unheralded tomato can, essentially. Let's just call him what it was. This guy lost it along the line. And when he fought Jared Hurd, that was one of the, I'm not exaggerating, that was one of the most impressive performances, smoothest boxing displays I've ever seen. It's in my top 20 of boxing masterclasses. The way he boxed him from the outside, outfought him on the inside, middle range. And then he loses 3 fights now out of 4. What happened? Do you think he sparred too much? Do you think he just doesn't have any endurance? What happened with the dude?
Well, I got to agree with you. That fight he had against Jared Hurd was unbelievable. And he always did, like, coming up, he was highly touted. Remember? He was highly touted. And Bredman is an unbelievable corner guy. His knowledge of sport is without question. So he left Bred, which kind of surprised me, Bredman, and went with somebody else. And I think that's when he lost against the unheralded guy. Oh, my God. I just watched that stoppage. That was fucking brutal. That was a brutal stoppage. Holy shit. Yeah, that was terrible. But yes, so I think when he left Bred, I don't know but you never know what's going on in these guys' personal lives. Something didn't seem right. It seems like one of those dudes, if everything ties in, if he puts it all on, maybe he has one of those brains that has to be focused, driven, and I think Bred was better with him. And he had Bred last night. He looked good for a while there, but yeah, that stoppage, Mr. BD, I just witnessed it. That was horrific.
I mean, it was understandable that he's chinny. I understand they think he's gonna get hurt, but my question is, okay, he got stopped by Jermall Charlo, and Jermall Charlo looked like a light heavyweight in there, because that's essentially what he is. So okay, it was what it was. He did well against Charlo. He got stopped. Okay, then Banana Rosario stops him. Okay, Rosario can crack. Then he loses against some Mexican dude by decision, and now you can't blame the chin for that one. He just looked listless in there. And now last night he loses against Adames. My question is, what happened to, like, everyone was on the bandwagon back in 2016. I remember people in the message boards in the YouTube community was like, oh, this guy's the next big thing, blah, blah, blah. How does a guy go from that to today where he's losing 3 of his last 4 fights?
Well, I think, I got to agree with you. That fight he had against Jared Hurd was unbelievable. And he always did, like, coming up, he was highly touted. And Bredman is an unbelievable corner guy. His knowledge of sport is without question. So
Who was the Mexican guy? Was it Resendiz, the guy that he fought?
It was Vladimir Hernandez.
Oh, Vladimir Hernandez is a pressure guy. He's pretty good. I mean, Mono Ramos took out Vladimir Hernandez, but he's a pressure fighter. And with Adames, he's a power puncher. And if he beat the guy that you said, he had that excellent night against Jared Hurd. Jared Hurd was kind of like punchy too. He had taken a lot of punishment, so he shined that night. Let's say J-Rock was motivated as well. We'll give him that plus if he was highly motivated, but then Jared Hurd was shot. He looked more than impressive. Last night, he fought a good fight. And you never know because Adames, he's been in trouble in the latter rounds where Teixeira beat him up. He got his win back and took him out. He didn't take him out, but I think he just beat him on the... No, actually, he took him out. He stopped him. Yeah, so it's one of those things. Yeah, J-Rock is good. But he's got his vulnerabilities too. But last night, he was fighting a good fight, like I said.
J-Rock is a real fighter. I really like that guy. I've talked to him on an interview before. I don't know if I did it on BDA or I did it on podcast, and it was pretty cool because the way he answers questions, it's like he never worries about the politics. He was, I was talking to him. I think I asked him questions about, certain politics, and he just kind of like, answered like, nah, I don't ever think about that. I just go in there, whoever they tell me to fight, whatever style of fighting that guy has, I prepare to beat that guy. That's it. And what comes out of it, comes out of it. Julian Williams could have very easily been a guy that they promoted and kept him safe and could have won sensationally. He just reminds me of that guy that when you put them to fight everybody under any circumstances, this is the results that are going to happen. They're going to have a rough streak. You see these fighters from the olden days when they had like 100 fights. That was like the average. And you'll see that they lost consecutive fights. They went through a rut, and then they bounced back, and then they won like X amount of fights that made them legends. And I'm not saying that he's he has that legendary that legendary style to be one of the greatest boxers ever. No, he doesn't. Obviously, he's limited. But he does have that attitude that I'll fight anybody. Whoever you put in the ring with me, I'll fight them. And he could have easily been a guy that they could have promoted like they do Charlos and basically just protect him. They could have just protected him and he could have, have like a great record right now.
Yeah, what's interesting about that though is, let's face the facts. You can have all the attitude in the world, all the old school panache you want. Activity. Check this out. Since the pandemic, he lost to Jason Rosario right before the pandemic in 2020. That was in January 18th against Banana. Then he was off for more than a year, all the way to October the 9th, 2021. I don't know what happened. Maybe he was having managerial issues, promotional issues. I don't know. But this would maybe explain why he looked listless against Vladimir Hernandez. Then another year layoff comes up against the unheralded Rolando Mancilla. And then here he was out for about 7 months, and they put him in there against heavy-handed Carlos Adames. It's like, look, no matter how good you are, if you're fighting once every 2 months, every 24 months, it's going to catch up to you. And he's 33 now. Yep. He's 33, yeah. So...
And supposedly, there was a comment on the telecast that Redman Edwards, they said, sometimes I think these dudes are exaggerating, that he picked them off the streets, that basically he was homeless. And now I'm thinking when Recognize was speaking, okay, maybe before he had that dog, right? But then after living comfy and everything else that you're saying during the pandemic, he got a little comfy, right? So that might have slowed him down too. The hunger and the fact that he's not fighting as often, like you said.
Yeah, maybe.
But when he had that dog, when he was homeless, if he was homeless.
A lot of these guys change after they start living a certain way, and it makes perfect sense. It's just the human condition. When you kind of like at your worst, that's probably like one of the greatest times of your life because you just have to fight every day. Every single day you got to fight. And in his case, like literally fight, boxing. If he was really homeless, I don't know if it's true or not, but it's very possible that he could have been a dude who was just staying in the streets, sleeping in somebody's living room. Who knows? and
There
he
you
had
go.
that hunger
Yeah.
to be a fighter and to make some money. And then you take him away from that, and then you do all these layoffs. Yeah, he's gonna show up sluggish, But my point is that he had the style that they could have really, if they wanted to, just looking at patterns, they could have protected him and made him, somebody with a padded record and feed him, maybe to somebody down the road. But they didn't do that with him, and maybe that had to do with him. Maybe it was like, nah, I'll fight that guy. I'll fight this dude. No, they don't want to fight him. Put me in there with him. Because he exposed Jared Hearn. Jared Hearn at that time was kind of like a boogeyman at 154. He went in there and beat the shit out of him. And BDA said it right. One of the best performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think he did it in that dude's hometown of Nebraska. That dude's from Nebraska.
Yeah, I think he's somewhere from around those
I think
parts.
you might be right, but he definitely beat him. He definitely beat him, and he beat him, I think, in his hometown, like you said.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. Once you take a loss, then you're going to get matched tougher because you don't have that marquee. It just, especially today, once he got stopped by Charlo, then he had to reprove himself. And how you reprove yourself is you have to fight good competition. And so I think, and then when he lost again, and then the relationship, I don't know if he was homeless, but I guess he was from a bad situation from what I remember. And he did have an extremely close relationship, and he respected the hell out of Breadman. So I was shocked when I heard that they had a split. I remember of anybody hearing about him split with a trainer, that one really was like shocked me because I know how tight they were. So
must have been a money issue. Yeah, must have been a money issue. By the way, shout out to Never Sobers for his contribution with the super chat. He says, peering into my crystal ball, I see Canelo will fight Charlo, then Benavidez, and lastly Spence at 165-pound catch weight. Well, wait a minute. The Spence one, Spence has to beat Crawford first. That's not a given, but I think I know where he's going with that one. But shout out to Never Sobers. Yeah, go ahead, Gonzalo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's true, BD, because like those second fights gotta remain open, and who gets to benefit off that? If you think about it, I think it's Canelo, because he's not gonna give those fighters the answers because they gotta stay active as well. They gotta stay in the running. Now, if I'm Morel, I'm the one. Yeah, I'm the guy that's gonna be trying to push that fight because Benavidez is probably higher in the pecking order as far as the guy that deserves it more than Morel. But if I'm David Benavidez, I'm kind of more quiet. I'm not asking nothing. I'm not saying anything to anybody. I'm gonna calm down. I'm gonna stop like trying to push people's buttons. He's been mighty quiet too. So it's one of those things.
Are you saying don't rock the boat? Business is coming.
Yeah, there's that little bit of internal. Now it's like internal warfare right there. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, sorry about
don't
that.
Don't rock the boat. Yeah, you got it, BDA.
Well, by the way, the phone lines, aren't working, so I put up a StreamYard link. So if anybody wants to call in, make sure to do that via the StreamYard. I see we got Jonathan Jackson here. Jonathan, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? I didn't know if you guys can hear me or not.
You're sounding very low. I'll try to boost your volume. Guys, can you hear him?
Yeah, a little bit. Kind of sounds like he's in that submarine.
All right, I'm going to boost your volume. Oh, come on, don't go there. I'm going to boost your volume, and hopefully it doesn't distort for the guys on the Discord, because whenever I use a plugin to boost volume, you guys all of a sudden can't hear it. But yes, go ahead, Jonathan. What's on your mind?
Oh, you guys were talking about the fight from last night, right? On Showtime, right?
Yeah, well, we're talking about Julian Williams, how he just fucking fell off the... He went from being the next best thing to just a guy who has no endurance, apparently.
I guess so. I mean, that's a fair statement, I guess.
I mean, I'll say this. He's the junior middleweight version of Jorge Linares. Fast hands, good intelligence, he's got a pedigree, but a fucking guy just can't, from one round to the next, he just falls apart. But anyway, Jonathan.
Those fighters can only go so far, though.
But exactly, yeah. Exactly. That's what you're seeing with him. People were high on him, then he lost to Charlo. Okay, it was what it was. He comes back, he beat Hearn, and then he loses again. 3 out of 4 now he's lost. What's going on?
I don't know. But I also heard y'all talking about Charlo earlier. I don't think Charlo's about to fight Canelo. I don't think that's because he hasn't signed the deal yet. So I don't think he's gonna fight him especially not on his first fight back.
He hasn't. Guys, have you heard about that? By the way, what is that?
He hasn't signed the deal yet. The deal hasn't been signed from his side yet. So I don't.
It's gonna be whatever Al tells him to do. Believe me, it was Al's pressure on the WBC that kept him from getting stripped at that 160. Al's connection there, and because in all goodness he should have been stripped. But Al over there, Al says jump, and they say how high. That's just how it goes. It's in their contract. So he's not. Al determines who he's going to fight, and so he's going to tell him who he's going to fight. He might be trying to hold up with something, but if they're saying that's who he's going to fight, that's who he's going to fight.
Nobody's saying. I mean, the fans said that, but Al also said it's a whole bunch of more people that he offered too. So it wasn't just 3 people. So he offered him like 10 people to fight, and Canelo gets to.
Who did?
Pick whoever.
I'm curious. Where did you read that? Because the only thing I've heard, he signed a 3-fight deal, and Charlo was the first fight.
Charlo and Benavidez, they just didn't offer that. No. They say he get to pick who he wants to fight. The fans, preferably, you'll say, "Oh, pick Charlo first." I mean, that's a good pick for Canelo, but we don't know who's going to pick yet. It hasn't came out, so we can't just jump to conclusions. Say, he's going to pick Charlo because he could fight. He could fight Andre first. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think my contention is that the PBC needs money to make the Benavidez fight. So I think they're saying, you know what?
Because in Morrell's mind, he's probably thinking, okay, he's higher in the pecking order than I am. So he's more he's gonna get the fight more likely than me. So why would Benavidez call out Morrell? But Morrell will probably call out Benavidez because the way you get to Canelo, if you're Morrell, you beat Benavidez, then you take his spot by beating him.
Of course.
All right, we're getting connection issues here. Sorry about that. We were off the air for about a minute and a half. All right, so where we left off was I was saying, I think they're gonna do the Charlo fight because Charlo brings more money to the table, whereas Andre doesn't bring anything. So I think it's an interesting move. Yeah. I think it's something that the PBC needed to make, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we got to go here. What the fuck? There's 2 Jacksons. Jonathan, are you still there?
And I was going to say real quick, the fight has been announced as a done deal. It's been reported by ESPN and a few other outlets as a done deal.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, listen, Jonathan, we got to go. The connection's getting fucked up here. But thank you for your call, and call back next time, right? I don't think he can hear me. All right, I hear him. All right, listen, we got to go here. This shit's, for some reason, it's fucking up here. I blame the forest fires. That's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm going to blame the forest fires. So,
one quick last question to you, BDA.
Go ahead.
Okay, so people are expecting Canelo. Obviously, he breaks in the millions. People want to see him against good fighters. Obviously,
that's right.
Benavidez, Andrade, all those other guys. Who's ever in the runnings, Morrell. Who are those? Who do you expect those guys to fight? Especially like the second and third guy. Yeah. In between the time Canelo faces the first time, leading up to those fights, are they expected to fight somebody else? And are they expected to fight good fighters too? Run a risk of maybe losing and not getting the fight, or facing them against each other. Andrade versus Morrell, Morrell versus Benavidez, Benavidez versus Andrade, like that, or what?
No, it's an interesting question. Yeah. Go ahead, Jimmy. Yeah.
Go VDA. Go VDA.
You go.
Okay, real quick, I would say no. I don't think they're going to match them tough, and I think that's the reason why the Burrell David Benavidez fight was announced that it was supposed to be a done deal, signed contract. I think that's why that instantly evaporated, because Benavidez's people definitely don't want to. Why would you? That would maybe bump you out of the running, because it's a 3-fight deal. It's not 3 with an option. It's a 3-fight deal. This isn't like, Canelo paying homage to Al Haymon as an allegiance. He's just there because that's where the fights are. And I believe he's probably going to retire at the end of all 3, win, lose, or draw. But I believe for some reason, probably like Charlo, Andrade, and then to top it off with Benavidez.
But
There you
so
go.
Canelo faces a name in Charlo, but then let's say fucking Benavidez faces a non-heralded dude. And do you think he's gonna come prepared to face a Canelo that's coming off maybe possibly a tough fight against Charlo? That's gonna hinder him. That's gonna go against his.
But that isn't how the PBC have been doing it for years, right? I mean, he very seldom matches his guys tough. It's always like building, fighting just the kind of guy that maybe he's a challenge, not to the extent of Davis. That's just the complete opposite off the hook. But like, he just doesn't match his guys tough, and even when they become champions. And I think he's going to do the same thing. And then just all those guys are looking to cash that Canelo check.
Before we go, did anyone else catch during the DAZN card? First of all, that female fighter, I forget her name, was fucking on her phone throughout the whole night. I kept an eye on her and I timed it. I timed the amount of time that she was on her phone. She was on her phone for about 5 minutes, especially during the Nowaski versus the Sicilian Nightmare fight. She's on her phone. She's taking up a primo seat right there in the middle row, in the front row. She's on her phone, checking her Instagram or her OnlyFans or whatever the fuck is broads do nowadays on the internet. Get the fuck out of there. If I would have been Eddie Hearn, I would have thrown that bitch out with the garbage. Second of all, there was a kid in the front row too. I guess he was a Berlanga fan or something. He looked Puerto Rican. He looked like one of recognizes. And he's jumping up and down. And I'm thinking, could somebody please give this kid his Ritalin? God damn, he's distracted. He's right there in front of the camera. You cannot see him. He's in there in the frame, just jumping up and down. His mother doesn't do anything.
I thought it was his cousin.
Well, yeah, whatever he was, right? I mean, his mother or whatever, guardian, she's checking her tits, her cleavage every two minutes. Like, just leave it alone. We can see your fucking cleavage, all right? Well, you mission accomplished. Not could you settle your kid down? And then Josue
I'm
Vargas.
looking for a husband.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then Josue Vargas appears out of nowhere next to Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn, you could tell he looked uncomfortable. Was like, man, I don't want to really be seen with you. I don't know. That's the image I got. Josue Vargas, another guy with an OnlyFans, and he's there. And I mean, I don't know if people are aware of what Josue Vargas did, but apparently he started an OnlyFans and doing some. It wasn't straight porn. Let's just put it that way. And then he came out with a statement saying, "I'm sorry about what happened." It's almost as if he's making it seem as if it wasn't his fault. Like, dude, people posted pictures of it on Twitter. You weren't forced to do that. So, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
and then, yeah.
He did some fucking light in the loafers porn.
Oh, man.
Some zesty porn. Holy sh! Oh, God. What the fuck? Oh, yeah, listen.
Man,
what's that school in England? Like Prince Charles went, is it Eton? Eton Academy, or it's like the premier blue blood school. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Hearn go there? So he couldn't come from completely different socioeconomic type atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like an Eton boy, if that's really true. I'm curious. But so he grew up with a silver spoon and that's a weird combination. Next to a kid who's doing OnlyFans homoerotic porn.
To Hearn's credit, or whoever was in charge of the seating arrangements, Josue Vargas, by the main event, Josue Vargas wasn't sitting next to him either. I think maybe Hearn had him escorted off the premises or something. So like, listen, I can't be seen with this guy. But I think that's Josue Vargas' OnlyFans right there. Anyway, man, listen, we gotta go.
Mother of all nuts.
I mean, this is supposed to be a nice, clean show. Supposed to be a nice, clean Sunday show, and I don't know what's going on. The people are coughing. We got forest fires here in Quebec again, so we gotta go, man. By the way, Bray is asking, did you guys catch Ioka versus Franco too? I did not. I woke up at 6 a.m. I said, let me see if I can still catch the fight. There was no stream. And then what's his name? I think it was the best. Or somebody on the Discord said that they managed to catch it on a pirated stream, and I'm thinking, well, fuck, man. I mean, it's not gonna. Unless I know it's gonna be on ESPN, I don't get up to watch these Japanese fights anymore, because if then you wake up at 5 a.m. all groggy, you gotta look for a stream. Fuck that. I'll try to find a. But apparently Franco
retired too, BDA.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Franco retired.
What the fuck was that about?
I don't know.
He showed up overweight. They stripped it. He couldn't fight.
Oh
for the
yeah,
title.
he was over considerably. What, 5 pounds, 7 pounds,
something like that, man. Yeah, it's insane.
That's huge. That's not trying.
Exactly, and then he retires. I'm suspecting he's gonna come back. Maybe this was all.
Sounded like he retired before the fight.
But you know what, Jimmy? That's the thing, though. He's trained by Robert Garcia. Now, Robert Garcia is one of the best trainers in boxing, but he's also a guy that it seems to me the relationship he has with his fighters is very friendly. He goes out drinking with them. You know, he was notorious for going out drinking with Brandon Rios. This guy loves to drink. He loves to pound the chelas, and I think maybe he needs to be a little more stringent with it because it's ain't the first time one of his fighters comes in way overweight.
No, it's not. In 1 year, I think he had 3 in 1 year, including Rios.
Yeah, that's
missed
insane,
weight
man.
once.
That's absolutely insane. But hey,
some trainers just aren't good with weight cut. Like that's just not their specialty. And if the fighter doesn't hire strength and conditioning coach or at least a nutritionist to tell them what to eat, that's when it is happening. End up dieting by just sitting in a sauna and eating their muscle away. Getting ashy looking.
Yeah, it's a science, man. It's a science, and if these guys are fucking drowning a bunch of pistols before the fight and during the fight and after the fight, it's like I don't know. It shows a certain lack of discipline. But then again, hey, who can argue with Robert Garcia?
I think there's a lot of videos of Mikey going out to the taquerias with his brother, and since he got all the fighters living there, I don't know if necessarily like Frank was one of the guys that's living in that compound. Yeah, they go out like that on a regular basis.
But did you see that's the video that Sue Sayers sent us? We watched it on Second Renaissance where Mikey Garcia is with this band, Mexican, like banda music. And he's fucking wasted out of his mind under. He's drinking liquor straight up. No ice, not mixing it with soft drinks. Just like fucking straight tequila, the glass filled to the top. And he looks like his shit face. And he's got stains all over his shirt. Jimmy, you were there. You remember that? We watched the clip on.
Oh yeah.
It's like
honestly though, it looked like he was having a good time though, man. It did look like he was having, but he was wasted.
I know, but what I'm saying is, it's I don't know, it's not. I don't know what's going on with Robert Garcia. It's he does very well. Who am I to argue with him? But then every year you see, well, not every year. I'm exaggerating, but every once in a while you see his fighters just coming way overweight. And but that's the thing though. This 115-pound division, it's fucking low. It's got to be the best division in boxing. It's got to be.
Yeah,
look
it's
at this.
great.
Estrada, Chocolatito still there. Ioka now, coming off a decisive win over Franco. Nakatani, who's looking like a fucking killer in there. Fernando Martinez, who fought last night and got a win. Kosei Tanaka still there. Cesar Quetzalcoatl Visa, well, I don't know how much he's got left. David Cuellar. Francisco Rodriguez Jr., who's not easy for anybody. I mean, come on. You got all manners of styles. You got punchers, boxer punchers, sluggers. Doesn't get any better than 115 pounds. But anyway, listen, fellas, we got to go. We've been on for 2 hours. Fucking forest fires over here. I got to watch out. Maybe we got to evacuate Montreal one of these any minute now. But shout out to you, fellas. Thank you for being on.
Sounded like Recognize was fighting him. Did you hear his cough?
Yeah, but he was, because he was skating. Anyway, long story short. But listen, fellas.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for joining us. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Gonzalo. The aforementioned Recognize, who was here for a little bit. Everybody that called in. Everybody that donated the super chat. Shout out to you, fellas. Stay tuned for another Second Renaissance one of these days, within the next 3 days. And we'll catch you on the next one. All right, fellas? Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out. Hit the like.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.